Hey guys, Kev here, and it's time for my full review on the Tempest Knives Pinion. So this is the knife from Casey over at Knives Fast. Tempest Knives is his knife brand. Here's the logo, little tornado, and then his signature is the rim on the pivot. And this is his second knife design. The first one was the Mach 51, which was a Kickstarter campaign that I backed, but sadly it did not get funded. So he decided to give it another shot, and he went back to the drawing board with two things in mind. He wanted to make something a little more appealing to the masses, because the Mach 51 had like a cockpit and it kind of looked like a car and a plane. And then he also wanted to make it more budget conscious because the Mach 51 was like 250 bucks. So with that in mind, he drew up the Pinion here, which is an absolutely stunning design. From day one, when he showed this to me, I told him if he does not do it himself, I will buy the design off him or collab with him through Devo Knives. That's how much I loved the design on paper, right? And he showed it to some other people, I think, and he got the same kind of vibe. And I think he realized he had a good one on his hands. And then he went and decided, I'm going to do this at a budget price so I can get more people involved. He hit up Kubi Knives. I actually got him in contact with Kubi Knives because I'm working with them on two Devo designs. And he got prototypes made. And here we are. So this one comes in black micarta, and it will have 14C 28N steel. This clip, I believe, will just be satin. This was just kind of a test thing. And then there's also going to be, I believe, black G10 and a blue G10 option. And these are going to be somewhere around the $75 to $85 mark, it seems like. There's no definite yet, but it's definitely under $100 budget territory. And guys, for that price, this is an absolute home run. This is a killer design, and I cannot wait to order a few of these. So it is the Pinion, and let's get into it. So aesthetically, I think it's gorgeous. I love a sheep's foot blade, right? I love a nice sort of neutral handle. I love a finger choil, especially one that's sort of 50-50. It's a little less 50-50, but it's close. Yeah, it's a beautiful knife. I love the sort of reverse Tanto sheep's footy blade. I love the slot. I personally would get rid of the logo and just, you know, have the rim here. On this side, you're going to have the steel, and then you have the rim here, and that's kind of it. So it's not like too much billboarding. I just personally don't like anything on the blade. I don't even like the steel on my blade, so that's a personal thing. It looks fantastic. Size-wise, we can compare it to the Devo Knives Stout, which is a 3 1/4 inch blade, and 7.65 overall. So you can see here, the blade here is the same length. So you have a 3. I believe he told me 3.5 inches, but it's not. I mean, it's 3.3 inches, and it's a little bit longer in the handle, like a tiny bit. So if this is 7.65, this is probably 7.8, something like that overall. And let's see if I can get you another knife that you might know. I don't have a ton here. Here's my laid back Jack from Jack Wolf Knives. Love that knife. There you go. There's that guy. Let's see. I have a couple budgety things right here. Let's grab those for you. I have the new Beglighter 2 button lock, which is coming in right around the same size right there. Perfect. And last but not least, we'll grab the new petrified fish knife. I don't even know the PE something, PF something. You guys will know better than me. Here, I'll tell you. PF 868. Also the same size, essentially. So this for me is the perfect size knife. 3 1/4 is, I always say, is the sweet spot. People who like a 3-inch blade will go up to 3 1/4. People who like a 3.5 inch blade will go down to 3 1/4, right? It just kind of makes sense. It's not like too big or too small for anybody. Once you get to 3.5, it starts getting too big. Once you get to 3, it starts getting too small. So for me, sweet spot. Now, one of the things that I would say I'd want changed goes towards that, though. The blade to handle ratio. You can see right here, if I zoom in, there is a good bit of handle left here, right? And to me, it just is a shame to waste that handle. So either bring it down or give me more blade. And I think he could probably do a 3.5-inch blade, or at least 3.4, something like that, and get you out to here somewhere. Now, you do have to remember the blade shape is coming up, so it's going to hit the backspacer, but I think you got enough room there, and you could redesign the backspacer a little bit, cut it out a little more, and I think you could get almost 3.5 inches in here. So that, to me, is a change that would be welcome for me personally. The clip screw, this is something I'll have to contend with on my own knives from Kubi. This just sticks out too much. You don't have enough room here. It's going to be an issue with shorts. You'd want it to sit more flush. So, you know, there's got to be a way to do that. Seat it lower. Use a smaller screw. This screw is enormous. I mean, look how wide that is. I thought the ones that QSP used on our knife, the stout, were big. Right? To me, this wasn't even great, but at least it's a button head screw. Kubi here is using like a flat rounded screw and making it enormous. I think there's a thing with the OEMs over there in China where they haven't done a lot of wire clips. I don't think Kubi's ever done a wire clip on a knife. I mean, or it's rare. And so what they think is they need to cover the entire wire tangs, and that's not the case. If you look at a Spyderco or anything, you'll see that the wire doesn't actually cover, or the screw doesn't. Here's an example. The Avant. You can see it doesn't cover the entire wire tang. It doesn't have to. So therefore, you can get a smaller screw on there and still have it do its job. You don't need to have this giant screw, is my point. So I think those are the two things that I would change on the knife. One more, the clip position. So you see how it's kind of hanging to the side here. It's coming up to the end, hanging off the back of the scale here. And you see the cut here and the cut here. So what I would recommend, and I think other people have said the same thing, is just slide this and center it right here, and then angle the clip back to center, right? And that way, yes, you're not going to be all the way up against the back, but even the way you have it now, it's not up against the end because you have this nub over here. So you'd just be sitting in the same spot. You'd just be right here, centered. So those are the three things that I would change. Now let's get into the rest of the sort of normal review. Aesthetics, killer. Ergos, fantastic. If you hold it in this back grip, melts in your hand, just feels like an extension of your hand. My thumb lands right at the top of this ramp. It's beautiful, guys. It really is. Then you have a choil. So now I can climb up to here and I get full control of this blade and it feels magnificent. This is a superbly comfortable knife in my hand. I love it. The wire clip does not get in the way. I mean, obviously you feel it in your hand. But it's not like painful or anything. It's a wire clip. That's why we love wire clips. Carry, fantastic. I carried this front left pocket for about a week now. I've had it. Getting this review wrapped up so I can get it back at Blade Show to Casey because I'm heading down there in a couple days. And guys, it carries like a dream. It's pretty thin this way. It's pretty slim this way. And it's not the longest knife in the world, and it doesn't weigh a lot, right? It's probably like 3.5 ounces would be my guess, 4 at the most, but I doubt it's even at 4 ounces. It's a wonderful carry, guys. Really is. You have a reversible clip, wire clip, which is probably the best clip in the game. You can obviously swap it out with Rips Garage Tech or Lynch wire clip replacement clips. So even if you don't like a wire clip, you have those options. This will fit those. Let's see, carry cutting. So I actually did do quite a bit of cutting with this. I had to pick up a new weed whacker when I had this in my pocket, so I had to take that box apart, get the zip ties cut. I had to, you know, cut the cardboard down. I also had some other packages to open. I had some shipping labels to cut. So I actually did some cutting with this more than I do with a lot of knives. Let me get a sip of my LaCroix. This is the key lime, which I really like. The regular lime, not so much, and I don't even know the difference. Yeah, so cutting. Now, it is a flat grind. I personally would prefer a hollow grind on this knife just because for me, it's going to be doing a lot of EDC tasks, cardboard, zip ties, stuff like that, shipping labels, opening packages. It's not going to food prep. It's not going to do any hard use. But Casey is the type of guy who does like to do that kind of stuff on occasion. He goes out in the woods, he goes out in his backyard and fucking cuts trees down and shit because he's a maniac with his son and smashes my knives that I gift him. Anyway, so he personally thinks a flat grind is going to be more useful for a working knife like that. And you know what? He has a good point. He's the designer. It makes sense. So I'm cool with it, right? If it's just to do things, then I hate when that happens. But, like, he has a reason. For him personally, it makes more sense. And that's ultimately what we're doing as designers, is making knives that would work for our purposes. And then we hope that extends out to other people, right? And in this case, I don't need the hollow grind. I just would, if it was one, I'd be happier, right? But it's still fantastic. It cut like a dream. The stock isn't too thick. It's not super thin, but it didn't really need to be. And it comes down to a good edge. They did a good job with the grind. The stone wash is beautiful. And it cuts like a dream. It did everything I needed it to do perfectly with no issue. So I gotta say, it's a fantastic cutter. The tip, for me, is perfect for my type of stuff. I pinch grip like this, boom, right in that tip. But you still get a nice sturdy tip the way this is designed. It kind of swoops up at the end there, and you get a little bit more meat behind it, I think. So really like the cutting. The sounds. So the sounds, I'd give it like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10. It's just an average sounding knife. It's a budget knife, right? You got liners in there and you got micarta or G10 or whatever. And, you know, it just thwacks out and it closes. There's nothing special here, but there's nothing bad either. It just is what it is, right? All right. So we've talked about aesthetics, we've talked about ergos, we've talked about cutting, and we've talked about carry, and we've talked about sounds. It's time to talk about action/fidget factor, okay? And this knife has it. The detent on this is perfect. Really could not ask for more on the detent. Yes, I could fail it if I really try to get it at the bottom of the hole, but it's got a nice, strong detent. If you get up anywhere from the middle up, it's just going to fly out. Right-handed, same thing. It's a freaking dream to flick. You have plenty of room in this slot, so he did a good job to where he made it where it sits really nicely along with the handle, right? You don't have this big bulbous thing sticking out that some people might not like. And it kind of shapes with the handle really well, in my opinion. But then the hole is exposed enough that my finger fits in there. I've had knives that are like this, and they don't expose enough. An example of that would be the Liangma Cuff version 3. The smaller one, the 3.0 EDC, whatever you want to call it. I love that knife. The ergos, the feel in hand. I loved everything about that knife, except they didn't expose enough of the hole, so I would just slip out of it too often, if that makes sense. There's too many times where I pull it out of the pocket, I want to pick it up and flick it, and my finger wouldn't get in the hole properly, and I'd slip out and I'd have to flick twice. That never happens here. There's plenty of space for your finger to get in. They did a great job on the corner in there, so it catches your finger really well, and it flies out. I mean, yeah, the detent is money. Left-handed thumb flick is doable, but it's a little harder than the right-handed one because you can see access over here and not so much over here. So right-handed, boom, easy thumb flick. So all you righties out there, you're going to love this, right? And then because of the way the hole is and the scale is, reverse flicking is fine right-handed. You know, sometimes if you have, you know, a shitty lefty thumb flick, you get a shitty righty reverse flick. Not in this case. It's perfect. The closing action, you get plenty of room in here to access the lock bar. The lock bar is very simple. There's no jimping. There's nothing going on. There's no crazy chamfers. But you get plenty of room to it, and you just push it over, and you shake it shut. I mean, it's not a guillotine. Now, I could have set it up like that when I took it apart, but I want no blade play, I want no rock, and it doesn't have either of those, and it's still bouncing off my nail. So, I mean, there's not much more I could ask for, and I'm the guy who was, you know, asking for shit. So, you can watch this action all day. It feels great in the hand. Yeah, it's super smooth. That's the other thing. Very smooth. It's buttery, so to speak. For a budget knife, it's impressive, guys. Kubi's really doing a good job with the budgety stuff. I could play with this knife all freaking day. So, there you have it, guys. This is the Tempest Knives Pinion, designed by my buddy Casey. So, take it with a grain of salt. He's a good friend, but I'm always the first guy to tell the truth. And the truth here is, this is a just gorgeous, fantastic design, executed extremely well at the price point he's going for, right? No, this isn't, you know, up to the, you know, level of, like, say, the Stout, right? Or even his Mach 51, because he wasn't shooting for that. He was shooting for a budget offering, and he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. For 75, 85 bucks, this is a killer knife. I highly recommend you get one on the pre-order / Kickstarter. We're not sure what it's going to be yet, but it's going to come sometime in June, it looks like. And, yeah, I can highly recommend it. So let me know if you have any questions in the comments, guys. I'll happily answer your questions about this knife, about the pre-order. As soon as I have the information, I'll let you know. If you want to ask any questions to Casey, I'm sure he's going to be down in the comments paying attention as well. And, yeah, to Casey, I'd say, dude, you killed it. And thank you. I really appreciate you letting me check this out. I was the first person to get my hands on one of these other than him. And that means a lot to me. And I'm very, very glad that it's as good as it is, because it just makes me happy that you have a fantastic product on your hands. So that's it. I love you guys. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day, and I will catch you later.